farm training video for floor duty. That's when we talk about our phones and how they work, and more importantly, how you can get business sitting at the front desk taking client phone calls. So this is Marissa. She's helping me out today as we're learning how to do this process. So floor duty time is an important time to make sure that we have the right face presented to the office. So we always want to make sure that we're dressed professionally, no jeans, no cutoffs, that sort of thing. We want to make sure that everyone's first look at the office for a guest coming in or a client or customer is that they see a professional business person at the front desk. So we try to make that very evident in the way we dress. So business casual is appropriate, and that's a pretty good rule of thumb to follow. We ask that we don't eat food at the front desk or have too many papers, once again to present that professional atmosphere at the front. A cup of coffee or some water is fine, but if you're having floor duty around lunchtime, you'll want to eat either before your session starts or after, just to make sure there's no wrappers or food there at the front desk. The first section that we talk about is opening and closing the office. So if you're the first person who comes in, you'll find that on the phone a little red button will begin flashing, and on the phone in the front it's going to be the red button here. But that button, if it's flashing, it means that the night is on, and that means all the phone calls will go into the voicemail, so that in the night it doesn't just ring and ring, it's captured by our voicemail. So in the morning you'll want to take that off of voicemail, off of the night button, and put it into the daytime form. That way you can receive phone calls and get the leads there. At the end of the evening, if you're the last person leaving, you'll want to push that same button, and then it will put it in night, so that overnight it's just one button, one push, so it's not like you have to remember a code or anything like that. The front doors don't have alarms or anything like that. Yeah, so there's no codes or anything. You just want to make sure it's locked and closed when you leave. And if people have been coming and going from the sides, which we ask them not to do, you may want to just make sure that all the doors are latched closed before you leave.
Okay.
When answering the phone, you'll want to use the standard greeting that's here on the bottom of the page. Thank you for calling Long and Foster Real Estate and Prosperity Home Mortgage. My name is Marissa. How can I help you? You'll want to make sure that you mention both Long and Foster and Prosperity Mortgage. That's the most important thing. And also to announce who you are on the phone. Make sure you're speaking clearly into the phone system so that it's not garbled or muffly. Sometimes if we hold the phone on our shoulder, it can get caught in our clothing. So we want to just make sure it's nice and clear. So a phone call can be directed several ways if it comes in. If the person is calling for an agent in the office, so one of the other agents, they say, "Hi, may I speak to Phil Piantone?" You'll page Phil. And the way that you do that is we put the phone call in hold in orbit. So you'll ask the person to hold. You'll press the tricon button. It's for transfer conference, we call it tricon. And you'll pick a number between 50 and 59. We suggest number 55 because it's easy to remember. All you have to do is tap, tap, and it's in 55. That means that from anywhere in the office, all Phil has to do is pick up the phone and hit 55, and he can get that phone call. So that he knows to get the phone call, you'll page right after you put the 55, and you'll page 2 times. You'll say, "Phil Piantone, you have a call on line 55. Phil, line 55, and then you'll hang up the phone.
Okay.
That will allow him to answer the phone call. We ask that you repeat these twice, because the first time it kind of announces everyone starts to listen, but they may not have heard it if they were on a phone call or in a conversation. But you say it the second time just to make sure that the person heard it. If they didn't hear it the first time, they hear it the second time. If that person is not in the office and has not answered the page, the call will ring back to the telephone, and it'll sound a little different than a regular phone call. It has more of like a beeping sound as opposed to a traditional ring. But you'll pick up the phone and let them know, "I'm sorry, Phil is not available. but I can give you his cell phone number. At the front desk, we have the phone list listed according to first names. So if you're looking for Phil Piantone, you'll look under the P section. And that will have the information for Phil, his cell phone number, or his email address in case the person wants that. If Phil hasn't been answering the phone, he might be in a meeting or something, and you say, well, it might be easier to email him, let me give you his email address. All of the email addresses will be followed by @lnf.com for Long and Foster. So then that way they'll be able to reach Phil directly. If someone's having a trouble or an issue and they want to ask you a lot of questions about Phil, just refer them to his cell phone, because that's not really your job to answer people's questions. If they're very persistent, you can give the call to Janice or me or Paula, and we'll help that person, because you don't need to have to help people out in that way. Sometimes there's legal issues, or sometimes there's transaction issues that they really need to have the conversation between them and their agent. If a phone call comes in for Janice or Paula or me or Sharon or Ryan, we all have extensions here. That way you can call directly to our phone. So in that case, if someone calls for Janice and you pick up the phone, thank you for calling Long and Foster and Prosperity Home Mortgage, and they ask for Janice Raffle, if she's in her office, or if she's stepped out maybe to have a meeting or something, you'll put that into her voicemail. So you'll hit the Tricon button, and her extension is 3443. Now all of the extensions are written here on the top of the list. There's also a little written note on the computer itself that it's a quick cheat sheet to help you remember which extension is which. So then you'll hang up the phone. If Janice is on the phone already, you'll hear a busy signal. That's okay. You'll just hang up the phone anyways, and it'll go to her voicemail. That way the phone call, once you hit 3443, it rings 3 times, and then it gives her a chance to answer. And if she doesn't answer, she'll be able to get that message later.
Okay, sorry, to clarify. So I press Tricon, then I press her extension 3443, and then I do hang up, or I don't hang up?
You do hang
I do.
up.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't have to wait for...
You don't have to wait for it to engage or anything.
Okay.
Just hang up. No matter what it sounds like on the other end, just hang up the phone.
All right.
If for some reason the call gets disconnected by accident, accidents do happen, they will either call back or send her an email or a text message or whatever.
Okay.
You always want to remember to just remain calm. If a phone call gets lost, it's okay. They'll call back. But we try not to lose phone calls. So yeah, those are the important things to remember. All of the people who are staffed here or who are our partners are written on the top of the list, so they're easy to find.
Okay.
So Janice, the staff here, Ryan, who is our lender. Also Joe and Helen are here on the list. So if someone's asking for one of the attorneys, you can find that easily here. So that's the easy way to find that. The other calls that come in are probably the calls that you're looking for, which are the client calls, the customer calls. So the way that we handle that is if someone calls and asks for information about a property, you're allowed to help them find that property. So that's why it's important that before you start, you have GCAR, you have MRIS that are active, and you're familiar with using them. So if someone asks you a question about a property, you can look up that property and give them information. We suggest that all phone calls, we actually ask that all phone calls be less than 5 minutes, and that includes customer phone calls. Because what you don't want to do is give them all of the information and then they go away. So the best thing is to get their information and say, just in case we get disconnected, or just in case something happens, let me get your phone number so I can call you right back with information. Or this might take a moment for me to look up the information. Can I look it up and call you right back? Or I have the information in front of me, let me email it to you. What's your email address? So you want to make sure that you're getting their contact information so that you're able to keep in touch with them. If someone calls and they say, I'd like information on 123 Main Street that's listed by Phil Piantone, then that calls for Phil. You'll want to give his information. So that's the only thing. If they ask for a specific agent, then that's who you would give the call to.
Or a specific home that's already listed, that's currently listed.
If they just ask about the listing, if they just said, I'd like information about 123 Main Street, I'm driving by, then you can help them. You can ask them, are you working with an agent already? And if they say no, then you can help them. So it's really specifically if they ask for that agent, then you'll give that call to that agent. That also goes for if someone comes in. So you'll want to make sure that you don't give them just all the information while they're sitting there and then they leave and you have nothing. So you want to make sure that you give them, what they're looking for, but also probe for why they want the information. You don't want to assume that you know. So if someone calls for 123 Main Street because they're a neighbor and they want information, you don't want to give them, well, do you want this other house or this other house? You want to kind of reel them in and say, so can I ask, while you're looking up, can I ask why you're looking up the property? Do you want similar properties, or do you live in the area and you're curious? That way you know if they're a potential seller or a potential buyer. So another thing to remember about guests is that you want to make sure that you greet people when they come into the office, even if you're on a phone call. So if you're on the phone and someone walks in, you want to tell them, 1 moment please, I'll be with you in a moment. And hurry to finish that phone call as quickly as possible without being rude, of course. Hurry and finish that phone call and then greet the people and ask them how you can assist them. If it's a potential client, then you want to make sure that you're available to help them. And if it's someone else's client, you want to treat them well to make sure that, kind of it's reciprocated throughout the office. You can offer them water, coffee, tea. We leave that at the front station in the office. And if they would like to sit and wait for their appointment to come out, whoever they're working with, they can sit in the lobby area. If they come in and you've paged the agent and they're not coming up, you can grab one of us to say, are they here? Or sometimes we know that they're on their way or something like that. So if they're not there and you can't get anyone to know where they are, you'll just give that agent a quick phone call. Make sure you ask the client, are they expecting you? Did they know you were coming? They may be out on appointment. If they say, no, they were coming to meet me, then okay, I'll just give them a quick call, make sure that they're a couple minutes away, and give them a call. Sometimes agents get a little bit bogged down with, if they got stuck at a home inspection and they're running an hour late, you just want to make sure that you kind of cover it and you get a phone call to them to make sure they know that their client is in the lobby. Sometimes clients just show up and you just say, sorry, they're out of the office on appointment, but they asked you to give them a call on their cell phone, and you'll let them handle that. One of the things that you want to look out for, which is point number 2 here, I'm skipping that point and then we'll go back, is that we don't receive here at the office HOA docs or condo docs. So if someone comes in and says, I have HOA docs for Phil Piantone, you want to make sure that you let Phil know that there's someone there with HOA docs. Are you allowed to accept or not? And if Phil says, no, I don't know what you're talking about, then you let the person who came in know, sorry, we can't accept them. HOA docs and condo docs are a little weird because the time clock starts ticking as soon as they are received and signed for. So you don't want to sign for anything and start a 3-day clock, and then the agent can't get their client the paperwork. So it's really important, especially condo docs, HOA docs, you want to make sure if that person hasn't gotten any word, if you don't have any word, you let me, Paula, Janice know so we can handle it, so we can contact them.
But other paperwork, if someone wants to hand deliver a contract or some other paperwork generally?
That's usually fine, yes. You want to make sure that you call that agent.
Still, no matter what, call them before you accept anything.
Right. I mean, if someone's just dropping it off, then I would say definitely get the staff involved, just to make sure that we're aware, and then we'll make sure that that goes to the right person. So you just want to make sure that you let agents know when they have a package or an HOA doc is here. sometimes you can't help it. We had one time someone left HOA docs and we said we can't accept them, we don't have word from the agent. Well, they dropped them on the desk and ran out the door. So you want to,
that happened.
it happened one time. So you just want to make sure that you let us know immediately, and that if that happens, we'll make sure that the agent knows.
Okay.
That time clock does not start, by the way, because it has to be signed for. So you can't just drop something and run.
I didn't sign it, they
right.
just dropped it.
They just dropped and
Okay.
ran, right. So sometimes weird things happen, you know, in the real estate office. That's okay, we can handle it.
All right.
You just want to make sure you're not signing for anything for another agent or something without permission.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back to visitors and guests. I know we mentioned offering them tea and water and all of that. But one of the other things, visiting agents will come to our Long and Foster office. So as a Long and Foster agent, you have the opportunity to use any Long and Foster office within our footprint. So if you're in North Carolina and on vacation and you find a Long and Foster office and a client calls you and you need to get to an office, you can use their office. We always suggest you call first, make sure that there's someone there, but that's a great perk of being a Long and Foster agent. Well, likewise, people will come and use our office.
Okay.
If there's a visiting agent, all they have to do is show you a business card so that you know they're a Long and Foster agent, and they can use any of the computers or anything.
Okay.
If it's the end of the evening and they're still here, you just want to make sure you give them, you know, I'm going to leave in about 10 minutes. And I really can't leave you here for security purposes. They don't have keys to lock the doors and all of that. They don't know our security proceedings. So you just want to make sure that they leave when you leave.
But I can leave agents who do belong to this office here.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to go down to number 3. We want to make sure that no cell phones are used at the front desk. If you must take a phone call from your cell phone, we ask that you let us know so you can step away from the desk into a conference room to take your phone call. And we ask that that be 3 to 5 minutes at the most. You know, emergencies happen, but you want to make sure you're available to business here. So, you know, we ask that you don't negotiate deals and do all of that while you're on floor duty. You want to make sure that you're available to have new business, and you'll take care of the other information and other transactions outside of that time.
Okay.
Likewise, you don't want to schedule appointments. That's number 4 during your desk duty. So don't have one of your clients come in to, you know, work with you while you're up there. You want to make sure you're ready for new business. So you'll schedule your client either before, or I suggest after, so that way you don't hurry your client. You have the time to deal with that. And if someone comes in that you're working with, just let us know. You can go into a conference room if a client walks in that just from the street and says, hey, I just walked by and saw the property, can you help me? Then you just give us a knock on the door and on our window here, and then you can take them into a conference room and help them out. We'll answer the phones and cover for you, and any leads that come in, we'll give them to you when you're done with that person. You just want to make sure that you let us know so that we're not like, where did she go? You know?
Yeah.
That's really the only big thing.
Okay.
Also, you don't want to take any written notes or verbal messages while you're on floor duty. That's number 5. You don't want it to be on your lap that, oh, you took a phone call and wrote the message and, uh-oh, where did the post-it go? Or, you know, that's not your responsibility to do.
Okay.
If someone's persistent, you just want to direct them back to either calling or emailing that agent directly.
Okay.
If they're super, super persistent, you can give the call to Janice or me or Paula.
All right.
Faxes, packages, certified mail or registered mail, we kind of touched on that a little bit. You just want to let the agent know, and you can put any of the faxes or anything that come in their box after you've given them a call. If it's too big for their box, like if a big box has come, you can either put it down by the mailboxes or there's a large mailbox bin there, and let them know that that's there.
Where's the fax machine?
The fax machine is up at the front desk, just by the coffee maker.
Okay.
If something comes and you're not sure about it, you can put it in me and Paula's box that's there, or if you can't find their box for whatever reason, you can put it in me and Paula's box and let them know that you put it in the admin box. Okay, so number 8 is floor calls. So this will walk you through kind of some information like we went over already, how to convert those leads, how to talk to people. In general, you just want to make sure and remember that you're presenting a professional face, both to people who walk in and people who call. And really, your goal is to convert customers who call into your clients and make transactions. So that's what these points under number 8 are about. So I'm going to let you read those on your own. And switching over to the next page, you see there's a lot of those points. If someone comes in to pick up mail, or not mail, but they say, oh, an agent left me a package at the front desk. I'll show you where it is. There's a drawer on the left side, the lower left side of the desk. And in there, it's by alphabetical order.
Okay.
You don't want to put any mail that comes in from the post office in that drawer. That will go into Paula in my box, or if we are here, you can bring it to our office. But that reception drawer is just for agents to leave things for their clients to pick up, or another agent to pick up. That's not for mail.
Okay.
So do you have any questions so far?
Voicemail was a question, and then if I'm gonna be absent, calling another agent to sub, what do I do for that? How does that look?
Okay, so we'll tackle that one first.
Okay.
If you cannot perform your floor duty for whatever reason, you get sick, or you know, all of a sudden you have to fly out to, you know, Hawaii for a wonderful vacation.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. So what you'll do is call, usually on the phone list, there's a section at the bottom that says sub list. When I email it out, no, not on this list, on the schedule.
Okay.
And people will sign up to be subs, and so you can contact those people. Usually their cell phone is there, and just see if they can cover for you. Or if you're looking at the schedule and you see that there's someone else with a time that you can switch with, you can try that. So you might say, oh, Kathy is doing the next day 11 to 1, and I'm doing this day 11 to 1. Maybe she'll be okay to flip-flop. Or I'm gonna run really late and she's right after me. Maybe she'll take mine and I can take hers.
Okay.
Sometimes that works out. And then you'll just let us know.
Okay.
We really ask that you stay on top of your scheduling and make sure that your time is covered. It's an appointment, so that's the important thing.
Okay. And you mentioned on the schedule. Where is the schedule? Like, where could I always find the schedule?
There's a copy of the schedule at the front desk, and there's also one here in the office.
Okay.
So, and if you have a question and you're like, I can't remember, you can always email me and I'll send you a copy of the schedule on email so that you have it. I usually send it out at the beginning of each month also.
Okay.
So you just want to make sure that you note all your times and all of that on there. For the voicemail, as we mentioned.
Yes.
If that voicemail button, you'll see it on the phone, it's this one here. If that's flashing red, then that means that there are voicemail there.
Okay.
And on the sheet, on the first page, there's the access code to accessing the voicemail, and then you'll be able to see who has called. So I believe that is all of the big information about doing floor duty and how to use the phones. You'll find the next sheet here, tips on making your floor duty productive. You'll want to read through this. It gives questions to ask for prospective buyers. So like we discussed a little bit, you know, separating who's a buyer, who's a seller, and how you can help them. This gives you some questions that you can ask them, things you can discuss with them to really kind of capture them as your client. There's also questions for sellers, people who call in who are interested in listing their property, how you can help convert them into your clients as well. And just some tips on staying on top of those phone calls and really making your floor duty productive, because that's what it's about.
Okay.
The last page is some ideas of things that you can work on while you're on floor duty. You can write note cards, because that's usually little, but you don't want to work on a contract where paper is spread everywhere. You can use the time to familiarize yourself with office listings. So you'll pull up on MRIS any of the listings in the office. So if someone calls, you have it right there. I always suggest to leave MRIS open, even if you're working your email or searching for something else on GCAR or something. You always want to leave MRIS matrix open, so that way you can access it quickly.
Okay, so I can have the computer on and I can be on the computer while I'm at floor duty. I can be doing my thing Real
Absolutely.
estate related, of course, but I
Yes.
can be on the computer. Okay.
Absolutely. You can email people. It's a great time. That's one of the things for email prospecting. So you know you need to touch base with this many people.
Yeah,
you know.
that's a good time for that.
It's a perfect time for that because then it's not wasting time.
Right.
You can work your moxie and you can do everything pretty much except for make phone calls
Okay.
for
Got it.
that. So you can also use the time to clean up your database.
Mhm.
So, you know, if you have people who just have a phone number, but you don't have an address, you can email them or, you know, call, well, you can't call them, but you can email them and get that information, just kind of comb through your database.
Sure.
It's a great time to do kind of the administrative work that's not too expansive
Yes.
on your real estate.
Okay.
So to work on the business of your real estate in between getting the business of your real estate. The last page here is your floor duty contract.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you some time to read over this and a couple of the other things, but these are the points. It's an agreement between us that, you know, these are the things that you'll follow. Basically the things that we've talked about. You're not gonna come in and, you know, cut off shorts, chewing bubble gum with a t-shirt and sit on floor duty eating your, you know, lunch, you know. So it's basically that, just saying that you know and understand and that you agree to the terms of doing floor duty so that we can make it productive for everyone.
Okay.
Any other questions before I let you read over this and sign it?
Not right now. I'm sure I'll have some as they come
Perfect.
later after I've read it.
Excellent. And if you have any questions, please feel free to come by my office. Paula and I are more than willing to help, so is Janice. And or you can send me a quick email with any questions that you might have. Thanks so much. Before we finish the video, I just wanted to mention a couple of things about safety that are probably important. You may have heard in your launch class already, but some things that you want to keep in mind. If you get a call on floor duty from someone you don't know or a client that you're not familiar with, you don't want to go and meet the person at the property immediately. You probably want them to come to the office so you can have a face-to-face, get a feel for them. And you want to do that with everybody. It's a good practice to keep in mind. That way, you've seen the person, other people have seen the person, and there's more of a stake for them. If they're not up to anything crazy, then they won't care coming into the office most likely. They'll just say, sure, we'll meet you at the office, that's fine. And you can meet them and talk to them and have them sign, you know, agency forms, and then you're ready to go.
I was also told I could take their license, a copy of their license.
You can, yeah, that's a great idea.
Just to be safe.
And then make sure that you have a buddy. So that if there's someone that you got along with in your launch class or in one of the trainings, you may want to just give them a quick call. Hey, I'm going out to show property to a new client, and can you give me a phone call in maybe 30 minutes to make sure I'm okay? Because what you don't want is to be there and something happens, nobody knows where you are. But just make sure maybe that they have a copy of the places that you're going to visit and that they know to call you in 30 minutes. And you can have, you know, like a little code if everything's okay. You'll say, oh yes, the file is fine and, you know, we're moving forward. Thanks so much for your call, you know, or something like that. If there's a problem and they call you and you're concerned about saying something, then you can reference the red folder I know is oftentimes used in real estate. Just make sure that you both know what you're talking about. So you just let that person know, you know, Diane, I'm going to see a property. If I mention the red folder, then something's seriously wrong. I'm gonna need help. Will you be able to call the police for me? And you can just say, you know, as you're on the phone, yeah, can you check out that red folder for me? I think it's by the file that, you know, blah, 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 but you say red folder, and they know, whoever's your contact person. Obviously, if there's a big emergency, call 911 if you possibly can. If you're not able to call 911, and you have somebody else who can do it, then that's when you know you can use that red folder. Or if you're just in an uncomfortable situation, it doesn't feel right, then you can say, oh, I'm so sorry, I have to go. They just called me and this file is falling apart. I've really got to go. And that way you can lock up the house and leave without there being a problem. And that's really a good way to keep yourself safe, just making sure that you're taking the extra steps. It might seem cumbersome sometimes, but you just want to make sure that you keep yourself safe.
Okay.
Any questions? No?
No, not right now.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
So stay tuned for additional videos regarding the jurisdictional addendum and all the other addendum and the financing. Thank you for visiting our house. Have a great day.